Welcome to the School of Midlife podcast. I'm your host, Laurie Reynoldson. This is the podcast for the midlife woman who's starting to ask herself big life questions like, what do I want? Is it too late for me? And what's my legacy beyond my family and my work? Each week, we're answering these questions and more. At the School of Midlife, we're learning all of the life lessons they didn't teach us in school. And we're figuring out finally what it is we want to be when we grow up. Let's make midlife your best life. Well, hey, friends, it's Laurie. Welcome back to another episode of the School of Midlife podcast. I am so excited to see you here today. I had been going back and forth on what we should talk about in this episode, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I should do something that is related to what we did last week for the day one live of the 3-day live sequence that I'm doing. And you might remember from last week's episode that I mentioned that I am currently in the middle of a 3-day live program to help women figure out how to live their best life in midlife and beyond and skip the midlife crisis. An hour a day. It's really direct, straightforward, not a bunch of fluff, just really actionable ways that you can look at midlife and the midlife period and the midlife transition and figure out how to do it better, right? To do it in a way that feels authentic to you with a lot of clarity so that you can skip the midlife crisis. And last week was day one. What we talked about on day one was the real reason that high-performing midlife women worry that they're having a midlife crisis. Of course, we all hear this idea of midlife crisis, and it's something probably that many of us worry about on some level, even if we don't verbalize it, even if we don't say it out loud. But there's so much transition and change that we're experiencing in midlife that a lot of times we get to a point and it's like, oh, well, this must be the midlife crisis that I keep hearing about. Anyway, so day one was last week. So many great reviews from the people who attended live, the people who watched the replay, that I kept thinking, this is a message that I probably should include in the podcast in some way. And so I thought, well, okay, I'm going to re-record it. And then I thought, no, that makes zero sense. Obviously, unless you're watching this on YouTube, if you're just listening to it, you're not going to be able to see the slides. But my hope is that just by listening to it, you're going to get the gist of it. And I promise you, it will change the way that you are thinking about your midlife transition. It will change the way that you are thinking about what it is that you are going through right now. If you want to join us there's still 2 more days. In fact, the second day is the day that this episode drops. That's day 2, when we're going to talk about how to redefine success in midlife and finally find authentic purpose after years of achieving. So many high-performing women, we're just so focused on all of the achievements. Well, I'm going to walk you through a process, a way that you can redefine success in midlife so that you can finally feel authentic and purpose-driven without the achievement. That, like I said, is today at the time that this episode drops. But if you sign up for it, you will get the replay. You'll get the replays of day 1 and day 2. And then day 3, I'm coaching on the 4 simple steps to live your best life in midlife and beyond and skip the midlife crisis. So 3-day live, completely free, but you do have to get signed up. I will drop a link for you to sign up in the comments. All you got to do is click on that, reserve your seat. You will receive all of the links to watch the replays and to attend live. And I hope you do, because this is good stuff. Most coaches aren't talking about midlife this way. And I think it's because most of them haven't experienced it in the way that I have. What I mean by that is I've had 2 different careers in high stress, male dominated fields. So I know exactly what it is to be a woman in those fields and constantly feel like the only way that you can be successful is to compete and achieve and drive and push and just keep going. But just because you are being successful at work, that doesn't give you a pass to put your feet up and not be focused and present at home too. Because there are people at home, there are people outside of work who are relying on us to be at our best as well. So we've got this coming together in midlife of all of our work stressors, our personal life stressors, couple that with all of the changes in our physical hormonal body, and it's a lot. And my hope for this 3-day live series is that you can find the clarity that you're looking for so that you can authentically feel that, you know what? I am living my best life. This 3-day live will give you the tools and the information that you need to do that. So if you haven't already signed up, click the clickable link in the show notes, and I hope to see you live. So with that background, here is the replay from day 1 of the 3-day live. Enjoy. I am so excited to be rolling out some brand new content today. In fact, I've never taught this before. I have been thinking about doing something along these lines for a while, but it has never been anything that I've pulled together in this way. So very excited to share this with you today as part of the 3-day live, where we are talking about how women are creating their best lives in midlife and skipping the midlife crisis. So let's get into it. 3 days, day 1, so that's today, we're going to learn the real reason high-performing women worry that they're having a midlife crisis. And I know sometimes women get worried that maybe they're not high-performing. Trust me, you are. If this is something that you are even thinking about, if you have made it this far in life, whether that means that you got straight A's in school or you were a solid C student, it doesn't matter. High performing is you have done all the things up until now and you are crushing it at life. So don't worry about that. But today we're going to talk about the real reason that women worry they're having a midlife crisis. April 1st, for our next live, we're going to talk about how to redefine success in midlife and finally find authentic purpose after years of achieving. And then our final live day on April 3rd, we're going to talk about the 4 simple steps to live your best life in midlife and beyond and skip the midlife crisis. And I will say, just off the top here, so we can set expectations, I will be making an offer at the end of day 3. So if you're somebody who gets a little prickly about listening to 3 hours of my best coaching content, but it doesn't feel comfortable for you, that I will be making an offer at the end, no problem. You can drop off now. You don't have to stay, but I do want to set that expectation so that you know that that is coming. All right, let's get into it. For those of you who don't know me, I am Laurie Reynoldson. I am the founder of the School of Midlife, where we give women the tools and information and mindset and hacks, all of the things that they need to make midlife and beyond their very best life. I am a recovering attorney. We'll get into that a bit more as we head on through the masterclass today. I have been married to my husband, Mike, coming on 22 years. And I am the luckiest dog mom to the bestest boy, Theo. I call Idaho home, and I split my time between Boise and the resort town of Sun Valley. I love cooking. I love entertaining. I love hosting dinner parties. I am currently training for an endurance hiking event. I'm very mediocre mid-pack, but it's something I enjoy to get out and get moving, and so that's great. And I also love traveling, particularly to European cities. I love sipping skinny margaritas on Mexican beaches, so travel for me is a definite must, and one of those things that, as when I think about making my midlife best life, that travel is definitely included in that. So just a level set here, what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about why high-performing women feel stuck in midlife. I know some people feel stuck, some people feel a little angsty, some feel uncomfortable, some feel that whatever word you use, most of it revolves around this idea of stuckness, of what's next for me. We're going to also talk about what's really going on in midlife. And I'm going to tell you it's deeper than just hormones. There's a lot at play here, and it all comes together at midlife. And then we'll also cover the number one shift that you have to make to reclaim your life and why doing nothing, just continue to living the same way is probably the most dangerous choice that you can make. So today is all about awareness. And I'm going to just let you know that we're going to go a little deep. And my expectation is you will leave today seeing your midlife experience in a whole new way. So if you're ready to continue, let's get started. First off, I want to just make sure that you're in the right place. So if you can take out a sheet of paper, grab a pen, something to write on. It can be the notes app on your phone, but I need you to be able to tally up some statements and whether they relate to you or not. I like to do it by just doing chicken scratches on a tally. But you take notes however it is that feels the most comfortable for you. For this quiz, and I love quizzes because I grew up with, 17 magazine and then aged into Cosmopolitan. So I love this idea of feedback through quizzes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read a statement and then I just want you to, off the cuff, think to yourself, do I agree with this or do I disagree with it? So we're going to do a couple of just sample questions so that you can get in the motion, feel how it feels to just make a snap decision. The sky is blue. So if I said the sky is blue, your first response would be, do you agree or do you disagree with that? If you agree with that, then you would add a little chicken scratch. Again, we're not doing it yet. I don't want you to get into thinking, well, the sky is blue during the day unless it's cloudy and then it's gray and at night it's black. Do you see how there's some thinking that goes along with that? And that's not what we're going for today. It's just gut reaction. What do I think? Do I agree or disagree with that? If I said summer is my favorite season, you either think yes it is or no it's not. And we don't have to get into, oh, well, it's great if it's not too hot or too smoky. Again, let's not overthink this. What is your gut reaction? If I said Donald Trump is the best US president, I'm not getting into politics here. I just want you to be able to make a quick decision. And that one of all the three is probably the most polarizing. So it's probably the one that you knew right away. Do I agree with that or disagree with that? So with that basis, we're going to move on to the actual questions, okay? So I want to know how many of these describe you. I've reached a point in my life where I feel like I've accomplished a lot, but I'm not sure what's next. If you think that describes you, I want you to put a chicken scratch down, make a tally mark, however it is you're keeping track, but right now you have a 1. I feel like something is missing in my life, even though I have a good career, family, and friends. I've achieved a lot in my career, but now I'm craving a deeper sense of purpose and meaning. I want to figure out what makes me truly happy and fulfilled at this stage in my life. Again, agree, disagree. Does this describe you? If it does, mark it down. I want to live my best. I want to live my life based on what feels right for me, not the expectations of others. I've built a great life, but I still feel like something is missing. Despite all I've accomplished, I find myself wondering if this is all there is. Moving on. I feel like I've reached a plateau in my career and I'm looking for new challenges that excite me. I'm open to exploring how my current career or lifestyle may need to change in order for me to live more authentically. I constantly feel like I need to learn one more thing, chase one more achievement, earn one more accolade to make my life feel complete. I want my next career move to be based on joy and alignment, not just ambition. I daydream about being retired all the time, even if I don't know what I do in retirement. I want to leave behind the pressure of shoulds and start living in alignment with what I actually want. I have a tendency to put others first, but I'm ready to prioritize my own goals and aspirations. I constantly feel like I need to learn one more thing, chase one more achievement, earn one more accolade to make my life feel complete. I worry about what others will think of me if I do something different. I feel a strong desire to connect with like-minded women who are also figuring out what's next for them. I'm tired of living by someone else's definition of success. I want to stop asking for permission to want what I want. Couple more. I want to build a life that's truly satisfying, not just busy or productive. I want to create a plan that reflects my current desires, not just what I thought I wanted years ago. I'm ready to take intentional steps to redefine success on my own terms. I'm ready to make room for new experiences, even if it means stepping outside of my comfort zone. I'm curious what life could look like if I designed it intentionally with no apologies. I want to stop going through the motions and start living with intention. I see that someone just joined us. What we are going through right now is we are keeping track of how many of these statements resonate with how we're feeling right now. So if these statements resonate with you, I want you to just make a quick mark about it, a little chicken scratch tallied up, and we will keep going. Since I turned 40, I can't shake the feeling that I'm running out of time. I've experienced major life transitions, and now I want to intentionally shape my future rather than just let it happen to me. I feel overwhelmed by the number of options I have for what's next, and I need a clear framework to help me decide. I'm healthy and active, but I'm also aware that time is passing, and I want to make it count. I don't want to waste another year feeling stuck. I have a clear vision of what I want my life to look like in 5, 10, 20 years. I want to set clear, actionable goals that align with my values and passions. I'm committed to taking the time and space to focus on myself and explore what's next, even if that means making some tough decisions. I want to find clarity around what truly brings me joy and how to incorporate more of it into my daily life. I'm ready to create a plan that leads to a more joyful, satisfying, and meaningful life in midlife and beyond. So I want you to tally up the number of statements that resonated with you. And will you drop your number in the chat for me? And while you're tallying up your numbers, I will just say that if you had at least 5 of those that resonated with you, you are in exactly the right place. When we start talking about how many of those statements did resonate with you, if you're between 0 and 5 points, then you're just kind of thinking about it. You know, you're ready to, something's not quite right. You've kind of got that itch. This is, I will tell you, it's kind of the quiet before the clarity. It's the part where we start thinking, you know what? I feel like maybe something is, I need to do something different, something more. 6 to 10 points, you want more, but you're still trying to feel okay about wanting that. So you're successful, busy, deeply aware that something is missing, but you keep talking yourself out of something, wanting something more, because you're like, I've got it pretty good. I'll just stay the course. 11 to 15 points, you may have outgrown your life. You know, you've done the career, you've raised the family, you've built the life, and now it just doesn't feel like it fits anymore. You know, you're meant for more, you just don't know what that is yet. 16 to 20 points, you are done waiting. You've been marinating on this question of what's next for a while. You're ready to let go of what's not serving you. You're ready for the tools, the strategy, and accountability to create something new. And if you're more than 21 points, well, you're definitely ready for what's next. You're ready to step into that next version of you. You probably have already, you're ready to make some moves in that directions. And you're not afraid of work, but you are wise enough to know that you need some help, right? You need a map, you need a guide. It's time to focus on you. So we might as well start doing that right now. So the question is, why does this all hit in midlife? Why do we start asking ourselves those questions? If you're anything like me, it's usually at about 2 o'clock in the morning when I wake up and I can't get back to sleep and my brain is just going crazy. So why is this coming at us in midlife? I believe that there are two reasons that this happens. One is conditioning and social programming, and we'll get into that. And the other is what I want to call the unique female experience. So let's see how this plays out. What do I mean by conditioning and societal programming? Women are expected to take care of everyone and everything, right? We take care of the family, we take care of the home. That means raising up kids. We also find ourselves taking care of aging and ailing parents. We get the groceries, we get the dinners, we do the Amazon orders, we take care of the doctor's appointments, the travel arrangements. This is all in addition to our work responsibilities. So we are doing the thing, we're keeping the boat afloat for everyone else. And we're doing that because we're raised to believe that focusing on ourselves is selfish. Because we were taught that, but many by what we saw our mothers doing, our grandmothers doing, the other women in our lives, but we see women sacrificing themselves for their families all the time. And we were taught that they're doing it for the good of the family. And even take that one step further, what the implication is that when women focus on themselves, they're being selfish. They're being self-absorbed. So early on, we get this picture for women that it's all about how we show up for others. And we learned it at home and school and church, Girl Scouts, literally everywhere we went. Let me know if any of this is resonating with you. The other thing that's really interesting is women are taught to associate our worth with achievement. Here's what I mean by that. We earn good grades. Let's go out and celebrate at dinner. We win the game. There's a pizza party. We book the role in the school play and we get a standing ovation at the end. Somebody brings us flowers. So we start learning on some level that if we achieve, then that's going to get us noticed at school. It's going to get us noticed at home, which means on a subconscious level, we start equating our value and worth to achievement and success. The other reason that this starts hitting in midlife is a woman's midlife crisis, and we're just going to call it midlife crisis. I'll explain to you what I think about a midlife crisis as we go on, but that is an inside job. It's very different than when men go through the midlife transition, right? They get a sports car, they dye their hair, they might have an affair, they start hitting the gym. It's very outward. You can see what's going on. For women, though, it's different. It's an inside job because we keep everything just bottled up inside, which means we start asking ourselves these questions, usually at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we feel guilty for asking them because we're in such a better position than so many other people. And then we feel a little shame too because we want more. And who are we to want for more when we already have so much? So whereas for men, it's a very external transition, for women, it's very internal. And then we're going to couple that with the fact that our bodies are changing, right? So we no longer feel like ourselves. And all of these internal questions, then they collide with all of the hormonal shifts. So we literally feel different. We're not sleeping well. We're experiencing brain fog, weight gain, hot flashes. At least it's not our mother's menopausal experience because no one talked about it. I mean, at least we're starting to have these conversations, which is great. That helps normalize the experience. But like for me, I can't even meet my girlfriends for wine night anymore because if I go and have a couple of glasses of wine, that means a 2 day headache, night sweats, terrible sleep. So my one outlet, it's like I don't even have that anymore, which just perpetuates this idea that, you know what, I feel like maybe something's wrong with me. And we're asking on the inside these questions like, I have everything I always thought I ever wanted. Now what am I going to do? I'm at the pinnacle of my career. Where do I go from here? I have the job and the house and the kids and the 401k. What is next for me? The kids have graduated, they moved out. I'm feeling a little lost because who am I without being a mom? Not that I'm not going to be a mom, but it's not what I have to do day in and day out anymore. So what do I do now? It feels like I'm just going through the motions in my marriage. Can I get the spark back? Is it time to move on? It just feels like something is missing in my life, but I don't know what it is. Why can't I just be happy with everything I have? What is wrong with me? I think all of this hits in midlife, the conditioning, the inside job. It's because all of these life shifts, they're happening all at once. They're colliding all at once. So we become empty nesters. We are working with aging and ailing parents who are in that sandwich generation, right? Most of us have worked our way up the career ladder, so we're at the top of our career. Most of our motivation in career has been the constant growing, achieving promotions, climbing the ladder, but we're already at the top, so what do we do now? We're by and large, many of us are facing marital changes, which is, wow, we've been married a long time, and I've grown in one direction, he's grown in the other. We haven't we've spent so much time raising small humans that it's like we forgot who we were. And with these changes, right, we've got to change to our primary roles, which are mom and daughter. That's going on. We've got a hit to our primary identity because our identity is tied so much to our career. And even if you have just been a stay-at-home mom, and I don't mean just like flippantly, but that when your kids leave, your primary identity as a stay-at-home mom, that changes too. One of your most important relationships is your marriage. So we've got changing in these primary roles, our identity, our relationships, and that all leads us to question, who am I? And beyond that, there's something about midlife where you start feeling like I'm running out of time. How am I going to do all the things I want to do in my life? I'm running out of time. Is it too late for me? I have figured out the midlife experience, the transition, all the things that we're talking about, not only because I have coached hundreds of midlife women, but because I've been there myself. I was on the verge of joining the partnership of a large super regional firm. And this is literally the job that I had worked my entire career for. I was a commercial real estate attorney for 20 years. During that time, I'd owned my own firm. I had worked in corporate law. I was a partner in a small boutique firm, but this was the cherry on top, the thing that I had worked my entire career for, and that was to be a partner in a big firm. And one of the very last things that you do before joining a partnership is you go to a partnership admission interview. And I swear, they know so much about you at that point. I think they just want to make sure that you can speak a simple sentence. And here I am at my partnership admission interview, and it's exactly how you would imagine. It is in a corner conference room, in a high-rise building, in a big city, floor-to-ceiling windows, big mahogany table in the middle, 16 of those high leather back chairs around it, 15 partners, and me. And at the end of the interview, they asked me the question that
it literally has changed everything for me. And that was, how will your job change if you were lucky enough to be invited to join the partnership? And I'm a verbal processor, so I was thinking to myself as I was explaining to them, my job isn't going to change that much. I already mentor new associates. I'm already working as a partner. I'm leading your real estate section for the Boise office. So really the only things that are going to change are my title. I'm going to go from of counsel, which just means I'm a senior attorney who isn't a partner. So I'll go from of counsel to partner, which is going to make it easier to bring in money and clients because everyone wants to work with a partner. And the way I'm compensated is going to change, and I'd be making more money. Those were the only two changes. And I thought about it for weeks after that. How did I want this job that I thought I had worked my entire life for? How did I want it if the only two things that were going to change for me were my job title and how I was compensated? By all outward appearances, I had the perfect life, right? I was great career, award-winning career, handsome husband, nice cars. We had a beautiful home. We had a vacation home in a resort town. I had a bunch of stamps on my passport. So from the outside, everything looked great. On the inside, though, I was ready to press the restart button on my entire life because I had everything that I thought I had always wanted. All those things. If we're going to look at a success checklist, I had it. And I was happy, but I wasn't fulfilled. And it didn't matter how hard I worked or how impressive my achievements were. It felt like it was never enough. Like I could never get to the point of really feeling successful or really feeling fulfilled. And the more I researched, the more I realized that it wasn't just me. As high performing women, most of us have followed the adulting checklist. You can call it the good girl checklist. You can call it the success checklist, whatever you want to call it. But we had followed it to a T. It looks something like go to school, get a job, buy a house, get married, raise a family. Check, 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 right? We've done all those things. So then the question becomes, if we've done everything that we're supposed to do, why don't we feel like we expected to feel? I don't know about you, but I kind of felt like, okay, I'm willing to put in the work here. I'm willing to work my ass off with this idea that I get to midlife and it's this cherry, like everything that I've ever worked for, I will finally feel a different way when I get there. And I didn't. As midlife women, most of us, we just keep repeating the same patterns that lead to the overwork and the overwhelm, but do not actually get us any closer to the fulfillment and the satisfaction that we're looking for. We're raised to believe that women can have it all. Hey, do you remember that Angelique commercial? I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan, and never let you forget you're a man, right? It's this superwoman idea of what we can do as women. Women can have it all. But for most of us, we took that as a challenge. And we, instead of thinking we can have it all, we thought we must do it all. Which means we became a generation of box checkers and people pleasers and achievement junkies. And what's really interesting is we're all arriving in midlife with virtually the same experience, regardless of where you live and what your career is. And we're wondering, is there something more? But in the meantime, we're also worried that we're having a midlife crisis. It's almost as if we believe that if we just worked harder or did more or chase bigger goals, then we will finally feel how we expect to feel in midlife. We'll finally feel satisfied. We'll finally feel fulfilled. We'll finally feel happy. These words are the most common words that my coaching clients use to explain what it is they are searching for in midlife. Which of these resonates the most with you? One of the biggest mistakes that high performing women make is we're trying to figure out how to make the second half of our lives happier, more fulfilling. We keep repeating the same patterns of overwork and overwhelm. We keep adding more to our to-do list. We're filling our plates with all the things for all the other people in our lives, whether that's family, work, friends, community. But we keep hitting the same roadblocks and plateaus, don't we? We tend to receive another accolade or hit another career milestone or achieve the next big thing and celebrate for a hot minute, and then we're on to the next. It's this constant cycle of state a bigger, better goal, work damn hard to achieve it, actually achieve it, and then immediately move on to something bigger and better. Why do we do that? It's because we expect to feel a certain way when we reach whatever goal or milestone we're working on. It's that it goes back to when we were young and we tied achievement and success to being seen. So we're trying to fill a feeling that we don't feel, it's a lot of fills, to fill a spot in our heart, in our body, in our mind that we can't by achieving. So when we don't feel the way we thought we would feel, then it's just this constant, we need to do more. It's always, always, always more. But think about it this way. If the secret to success was working harder and doing more, wouldn't we already be living the life we always wanted? Like, we wouldn't be thinking, I can do the things I want to do someday. We would already be having them because we're hard workers. We are not a stranger to hard work. We will roll up our sleeves and put in the time and the effort. So if the secret was working harder, doing more, we'd already have the life that we wanted right now. That could look like the next promotion or the next company. Maybe we try and do that by earning more degrees or more credentials. We think we're going to feel differently after we lose the last 15 pounds, or once the kids are grown, or after we retire. But the truth is, most of us are living our lives on autopilot. What I mean by that is we're going to the same job, we're doing the same work, we're eating at the same restaurants, we're binging the same TV shows, we're having or not having the same sex, we're letting the same thing slide. So we get back to this whole idea that we're worried about midlife being a crisis. You might remember this slide with the emptiness, the aging parent, the career questions and material questions, the primary roles, the primary identity, the important relationship in our life. So the midlife equation, to me, the reason why I believe we think we're having a midlife crisis is we take those identity shifts and our physical changes, right? Because we've got all the hormone, menopause, perimenopause stuff going on. And we're going to take those identity shifts and the physical changes and we're going to multiply that by time because we feel like we're running out of it. And then we feel like we're having a midlife crisis. Which begs the question, is midlife really a crisis? The word crisis means a period of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. There are ways that we can change the term crisis. We can reframe the experience to something like more like an opportunity, which is a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. A turning point, a point in an action or a situation where an important change occurs. I mean, I feel like that definitely explains or describes midlife. A sweet spot, an optimum point or combination of factors or qualities. Midlife could also be a reset, and that just means to set again differently, to do something different. Or an inflection point, a time of significant change in a situation, a turning point. For me, I feel like midlife should be looked at not as a crisis, but as an opportunity or a turning point. Those are the ones that I resonate the most with. But I will say that, I've studied midlife experience for years. I've coached hundreds of high performing women through it, and I don't believe that midlife is a crisis per se. But it can become a crisis, just going back to the definition, a period of intense difficulty or trouble, if we don't figure out things for ourselves. So it's almost like a warning. When we start thinking, is this a midlife crisis? That should be a warning to us that if we don't change up, do things differently, then we may actually we might find ourselves in the middle of a crisis. And that's because our life cycle up to now, we went back to the conditioning that we talked about in the beginning, that has led to achievement, which has led to burnout, which has led to doing it all again and expecting a different result. So what that looks like, if we keep that same exact life cycle, conditioning, achievement, burnout, repeat, we don't do anything different, then I promise you, I almost guarantee that you are going to find yourself in a midlife crisis. And I don't want that for you. In addition to saying that midlife is only a crisis and it's all downhill from here, I think you can live your best life in midlife and beyond. So midlife being a crisis, it's all downhill from here. I think that's a lie that society keeps feeding to high performing women. I also think that there is a better way. I believe that the life you want is not on the other side of another checklist or to-do list. Like, you don't have to keep doing. You don't have to keep searching for more. You just have to figure out what you want. And I know that that sounds simple, but the truth is, knowing what you genuinely want in your life is the only way that you can create and live your best life and skip the midlife crisis. It's the only way for you to get the satisfaction and fulfillment and happiness that you're looking for. It's the only way. When I'm talking about what you genuinely want, so if we go back to that, knowing what you genuinely want in your life is the only way to create and live your best life. When I talk about what you genuinely want, I'm not talking about what our parents told us to want, because a lot of us got a lot of messages from our parents growing up. They told us what we should want. In fact, a lot of us went into careers because we thought we were doing what our parents wanted us to do. So, not that. What you genuinely want also does not mean what society tells you to want. So if you are spending a lot of time scrolling social media and an influencer tells you that this is what you need to make your best life, and it's some product, yeah, I mean, maybe it'll make you feel better for a couple of hours or a couple of days, but it doesn't really get to the root problem, which is you got to figure out what you want. And it's certainly not what we've been conditioned to want. We've talked about that a lot, that there is so much programming and conditioning that we have received our entire lives that it's really difficult for most of us to actually read through the noise to figure out, what is it that I genuinely want? Let's approach it this other way. The only way to live your best life is to get crystal clear on what you actually want. Once you do that, you can live with more purpose, greater impact, enjoy stronger and deeper relationships, and finally experience that fulfillment and satisfaction that you've been chasing. How does that sound? That sounds kind of like making midlife your best life, doesn't it? And certainly skipping the midlife crisis. We worry about midlife crisis because of these primary struggles. We don't know what we want. We don't know what success means to us, and we don't know where we're heading. So now that we know that the only way to live your best life is to know what it is you actually want, you're probably wondering, well, how do we do that? How do we figure this out for ourselves? And that's exactly what we're going to do in the next training. So on April 1st, we are going to talk about how to redefine success in midlife and finally find authentic purpose after years of achieving. We're going to go through those 3 foundational questions. You're not going to want to miss it. adds to what we have talked about today.
Thank you so much for listening to the School of Midlife podcast. It means so much to have you here each week. If you enjoyed this episode, could you do me the biggest favor and help us spread the word to other midlife women? There are a couple of easy ways for you to do that. First, and most importantly, if you're not already following the show, would you please subscribe? That helps you because you'll never miss an episode, and it helps us because you'll never miss an episode. Second, if you'd be so kind to leave us a 5-star rating, that would be absolutely incredible. And finally, I personally read each and every one of your reviews. So if you take a minute and say some nice things about the podcast, well, that's just good fun. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you right back here next week when the School of Midlife is back in session. Until then, take good care.